Could you imagine an empire so confident that they believed a war against Earth would last 6 long hours, only to be wiped out in less than 10 minutes? For centuries, the VR Dominion had ruled the stars without a hint of mercy. Their empire stretched across countless star systems, and every civilization they encountered fell into line or was erased. They had grown used to victory that came easily because they never had to truly fight. War for them was as routine as the rising of a sun in a predictable sky. Every enemy was just another challenge to be overcome. Every planet another mark of conquest. They prided themselves on their strength, on their unmatched ability to bend the universe to their will. And then, one day, they found Earth at first glance. Earth was hardly more than a speck in the vast universe. A small, blue planet with a population that was busy fighting among themselves, struggling with petty conflicts, and never even dreaming of the vast cosmic stage. To the Dominion, humanity was insignificant. They saw our technology as crude, our tactics as primitive, and our spirit as unworthy of any real resistance. Their analysts studied our history, our wars, our mistakes, and concluded that we were no threat at all. After all, we had no interstellar fleet, no colonies among the stars, and no plans to challenge the mighty VR Dominion SO. When the Dominion's War Council gathered in their grand, cold chambers, they looked upon Earth with a sense of amused disdain. They reviewed every scrap of data about our planet and our people. In their eyes, we were just a bunch of squabbling tribes who had never really mastered the art of war. Their brilliant minds calculated that once their fleet reached Earth, our defenses would crumble in no more than 6 hours. 6 hours of struggle before we would be broken, our cities set ablaze, and our people silenced forever. In that very room, amid the holographic displays of distant galaxies, one older warlord spoke up softly. His voice carried the weight of countless battles and the sorrow of watching many proud civilizations fall. Humans don't fight like others, he said, almost to himself. They don't play by the same rules we do. His words hung in the air for a moment, and then the room erupted in laughter. They saw his caution as nothing more than the ramblings of someone who had grown tired and bitter over the years. They're unpredictable, he continued, his voice barely audible. Their fight is messy, and they break rules when they must. But his warnings were ignored. In the minds of the Dominion, humanity was weak and fragile, a speck of dust easily swept aside by the might of their war machines. And so, with absolute certainty, they set their plan into motion. The Dominion fleet, composed of 10,000 mighty warships, burst into the solar system like a tidal wave of metal and fire. Each ship was a floating fortress of power, built to crush any resistance with a single, devastating blow. Their formation was precise, their movements calculated to perfection. They carried no doubt about their mission. Earth would surrender, or it would be destroyed as they approached our planet. They sent out a single, uncompromising message. It traveled through every communication channel on Earth, echoing in every corner of the globe. Earth, your resistance is futile. Surrender unconditionally, or be destroyed. They expected chaos. They imagined cities burning, governments collapsing, and people running in terror. But instead of a panicked uproar, there was silence. A deep, heavy silence that stretched for minutes as Earth's inhabitants processed the message. Some wondered if it was a hoax. Others waited, hearts pounding, for a sign that the battle had begun. Inside the Dominion command ships, a few of the younger officers exchanged confused glances. But their doubts were quickly silenced by the confidence of their leaders. After all, what did a single message from a small, insignificant planet matter when compared to the might of the Dominion? The order was clear, and soon every warship in the fleet was set on a collision course with Earth's defenses. Then the unthinkable happened. The Dominion's weapons fired. Powerful beams of energy and streams of missiles streaked through the darkness, aimed with deadly precision at what they believed were human ships. But in a twist that no one could have foreseen, the targets simply vanished at first. The commanders thought it was a glitch, a malfunction in the sensors. They watched in disbelief as the missiles sailed past empty space, as the energy beams hit nothing but a void. Their advanced systems showed readings that made no sense. Reports of direct hits with no sign of a ship. Images that flickered between reality and nothingness. That it was not that the weapons had missed or that the human ships had dodged them. They had not been there at all. Every missile, every burst of energy had traveled into nothingness. It turned out that what the Dominion saw as a fleet was nothing more than an illusion. For years, humanity had worked in secret, developing a way to deceive even the most sophisticated enemy sensors. We had created fake fleets, holograms, and decoys controlled by smart, hidden computers to trick our enemies into thinking we were there, when in truth, we were hiding in plain sight. While the Dominion wasted precious seconds launching attacks at phantoms, our real forces were quietly gathering. Deep under our skies and hidden in the darkness of space, millions of warships were preparing for the moment they had long awaited. Then came the turning point. In one perfectly timed move, we struck back. A coordinated cyber attack, launched simultaneously from every hidden outpost, overwhelmed the Dominion's targeting systems. Every screen in their warships went to static, every sensor went dark. Their powerful weapons, once guided by flawless systems, suddenly lost their accuracy and purpose. In the blink of an eye, the mighty Dominion fleet found itself blinded and confused, drifting helplessly in space. This was when the true battle began. Out of the sudden darkness emerged the real human fleet, not just a handful of desperate ships, but millions of them, shining like beacons in the void. They had been waiting patiently for this moment, hidden from view until the time was right. The Dominion, now caught off guard and unable to respond, could only watch in horror as our true might was revealed. The first salvo came like a thunderclap, a series of strikes so precise that they cut through the enemy command structure before any countermeasure could be raised. The sound of battle was not one of chaotic noise, but of orchestrated precision. Massive bursts of energy tore through Dominion command ships. Waves of coordinated strikes turned their leading vessels into shattered husks, leaving nothing but debris in their wake. The Dominion, who had once been so confident in their own strength, were suddenly facing an enemy that fought with the cunning of predators, calm, calculated, and utterly relentless. In the span of just 30 seconds, 2,000 Dominion warships were obliterated. The shock of the loss rippled through the fleet like a tremor. Panic set in among the Dominion commanders as they realized there was no escape. Every possible route for retreat had been anticipated by our hidden strategies. The enemy had not only taken the fight to them, but had also boxed them in from every angle. With each passing minute, the situation grew direr for the Dominion. They had expected an easy victory, a simple display of force that would leave Earth trembling in submission. Instead, they were witnessing their own downfall, engineered by an enemy they had completely underestimated. Even as the remaining warships of the Dominion tried to regroup, their efforts were futile. Every tactic they attempted was met with a pre-planned counterattack. The Dominion's warlords, once so proud and unyielding, now scrambled to find a way to salvage their honor, to find a weakness in our defenses that they could exploit. But humanity had thought of everything in a move that would become the stuff of legends. Our forces unveiled the final weapon, a secret we had kept hidden until this very moment. When the last of the Dominion's dreadnoughts prepared to make one last, desperate stand, a new terror was unleashed, the Singularity Cannon. The Singularity Cannon was not a weapon you could see coming. It wasn't a missile or a laser beam that could be dodged or blocked. Instead, it was a force that went beyond the normal rules of physics. It was as if we had taken a page from the very laws of the universe and rewritten them in our favor. When the Singularity Cannon fired, it tore through space like a rip in a piece of cloth. The Dominion's largest warships, those symbols of their unchallenged power, did not simply explode or break apart. They were swallowed by a vast void, a bottomless, empty space where nothing existed. In an instant, these warships, with all their might and grandeur, were completely erased from existence. It was over in a matter of minutes. The war that was predicted to last 6 hours ended in 6 shocking minutes. The mighty VR Dominion, so sure of their strength and so certain of our inferiority, found themselves facing a fate they could never have imagined. As the last of their warlords, defeated and desperate, sent out final pleas for mercy. The message was clear. Humanity did not care for surrender or negotiations. We had fought a war not to conquer or to subdue, but simply to survive and to send a message that echoed through the galaxy. We will not be bullied, we will not be underestimated, and we will erase any threat before it even has a chance to understand what happened. In that final moment, as the Dominion's remaining ships fell silent, forced into self-destruction by our final protocol, the entire Empire was reduced to nothing. The voice of a once mighty civilization was snuffed out, leaving behind only the echo of our resolve. The galaxy would never be the same after that day. The old order, built on the idea of endless conquest, was shattered. The Dominion had believed that they could control everything through power and fear. But our victory was not just a triumph of weaponry or strategy. It was a testament to human ingenuity and the will to survive against all odds. The message sent out to every corner of the universe was simple and clear. Humanity does not fight wars in the traditional sense. We do not seek conquest or domination for its own sake. Instead, we stand ready to protect ourselves, to outsmart and outmaneuver any enemy that dares to challenge us. Our tactics, our spirit, and our willingness to break the rules have become our greatest strengths. Imagine a scenario where an empire as old and as feared as the Dominion falls not because of a lack of power, but because they failed to understand an enemy that refuses to be predictable. They thought the war would last 6 hours, that they had ample time to crush us with their superior numbers and technology. They were confident, almost arrogant, in their ability to dictate the terms of battle. But in the face of a foe that had prepared in secret, that had devised clever illusions and hidden strengths, they were overwhelmed. Every moment of the conflict was a lesson in how underestimating an opponent can lead to total collapse. The Dominion had spent centuries perfecting the art of war, believing that sheer might was enough to guarantee victory. They had honed their skills in domination, never imagining that an enemy might use stealth, deception, and unexpected tactics to turn the tables. The battle in space was not just a display of firepower. It was a grand chess game played on a cosmic scale. We moved our pieces with care, anticipating every move they could possibly make. We set traps, built illusions, and then struck with a speed that left them reeling. In that brief moment of chaos, the Dominion's confidence crumbled, and their once unbreakable lines fell apart. For many who watched from Earth, the battle seemed almost surreal. Reports of warships vanishing into thin air, of entire fleets being reduced to nothing within moments, spread across our planet like wildfire. People began to realize that the story of our defeat would be told for generations, the story of a small, underestimated world standing up to a mighty empire and winning. The aftermath of that conflict changed everything. Across the galaxy, those who had once trembled at the mention of the VR Dominion now spoke in hushed tones of the new force that had emerged from Earth. They whispered about the mysterious tactics, the unseen defenses, and the final unthinkable act of erasure executed by the Singularity Cannon. There were many who asked, how could a species so small and seemingly weak have managed to defeat an empire that had never lost a war? The answer, as it turned out, lay not in brute strength, but in the art of surprise. Humanity had taken the time to study, to learn, and to adapt. We had looked at our own history, the countless battles, the repeated failures, and the hard-won victories, and we had learned a vital lesson. Sometimes, the key to survival is not to meet force with force, but to meet it with ingenuity. Our victory was a statement. It was a declaration that even the mightiest can fall when they underestimate the spark of human creativity and resilience. It showed that when pushed to the edge, people will find new ways to fight, to protect, and to overcome challenges that seem impossible. In that moment of triumph, the idea that Earth was nothing more than a backwater planet was shattered once and for all. In the years that followed, tales of that fateful day spread far and wide. They were shared around campfires on distant worlds and whispered in secret meetings among rebel groups in star systems that had once been under Dominion control. The legend of how a planet once deemed insignificant rose to become a symbol of hope and defiance inspired countless others to stand up against tyranny. Every star, every planet, every galaxy that had heard the story of our swift victory began to question their own loyalties. The message was clear: no empire, no matter how powerful or ancient, was invincible. And humanity, with all its faults and failures, had proven that even a small, underestimated force could change the course of history. Now, whenever someone mentions the name VR Dominion, the tale of that incredible battle is always brought up. It's a story of how arrogance and overconfidence can lead to downfall. A reminder that sometimes the greatest weapon isn't a beam of energy or a massive warship, but the spirit to fight against impossible odds. If you find yourself drawn to stories of epic battles and unexpected heroes, to tales where the smallest among us can triumph over giants, then you are not alone. This is the kind of story that reminds us that courage and clever thinking are worth more than the biggest armada or the strongest weapon. It is a story of survival, of hope, and of the power of the human spirit. A story that continues to inspire new generations to believe that even in the darkest moments, a spark of resistance can ignite a revolution. So, if you enjoyed this journey through one of the most unexpected chapters in galactic history, please take a moment to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Share your thoughts in the comments. What would you have done if you were in the shoes of the Dominion warlords? Or perhaps, if you were one of us, hiding in the shadows, waiting for the perfect moment to strike back. Remember, every great story is born from the courage to defy expectations and the wisdom to learn from every setback. And who knows, the next great chapter in this ongoing saga might just have your name on it. See you in the next one.